Over 456 million people inhabit the countries that comprise the European Union. As an economic, cultural and political organisation, this union is influencing our collective lives like no establishment before. Of most significance is the political sector. Approximately 80% of national legislation is estimated to originate in the Union. Thanks to its geographically central location and perceived neutrality, Brussels, a medium-sized city with 1 million inhabitants, has emerged over the last 4 decades to become the primary location of the bureaucratic heart of the Union. The urban history of Brussels is filled with moments of top-down urban planning, with city leaders intervening with a heavy hand on the fabric of the city. The most recent of these has been the Belgian government's decision to locate the buildings of the European institutions in a 19th century previously residential quarter, District Leopold. However, unlike elsewhere in the city, this development is being driven by transnational political and economic forces. The district today is a monofunctional island characterised by a wash of offices, embassies and consulates, and is bordered by residential districts with limited relations between. As the political importance of the European Union has grown, so have the peripheral industries that surround the institutions, increasing the urban impact of the Union's presence. Journalists, lobbyists and civil servants all vie for prominence in the area. The institution itself employs 30,000 staff in the district, whilst there are more than 15,000 people involved in interest representation, better known as lobbying. This does not consider the several hundred thousand demonstrators who descend on the district each year. Whilst multinationals are heavily represented, Philip Morris and BP Amoco being 2 examples that occupy the most expensive office space in the city, NGOs and regional representatives also have made homes here, as close as possible to the European institutions. This spectrum of interest representation, seeking to exert pressure on the outcome of budgets or legislation, contributes to making the district arguably the most politicised area in the world. The institution is split into 3 main components: the European Commission, which drafts legislation and budgets, the European Council, in which the leaders of national governments sit and represent their nation's stake, and the European Parliament, which is gaining in importance and finally accepts or vetoes all budgets and legislations. The 732 members of European Parliament each represent 620,000 people, more than the number of inhabitants of Sheffield. In this representational democracy, in which we offer over our individual potential to make decisions to somebody else, the spaces that allow for individuals or groups to demonstrate and represent their opinions become critical. In spite of this, the barriers to representation are numerous and complex. The ability to demonstrate effectively is only possible with prior knowledge and experience of important locations, times and opportunities. As such, the district appears opaque and unforgiving to the infrequent visitor. Whilst currently those with great resources and size, both multinationals and large NGOs, are able to access this world, the remainder can be provoked into other modes of interest representation, from potentially extreme cases of terrorism to active demonstration to letter writing and internet petitions. In order to lobby within the walls of the institution, one is required to maintain an office in Brussels, provide a certificate of personal recommendation, and provide information regarding the nature of the group to be represented. The proposed Embassy of Representation attempts to address these issues, accepting the current paradigm of the representative democratic model. It provides space for those who would otherwise struggle to present themselves and their views to the institution, facilitating representation. Whether providing accommodation for international demonstrators, short-term office space to small NGOs and delegations, or even restaurant bar space for informal conversation with Commission staff or MEPs, the intention is that the physical manifestation represents the associative model of democratic principles. It exploits the potential shown already in Brussels in the existing network of creative, volunteer-run groups that sprang out of the urban decline and opportunities of the 90s. Being embedded within the European district, it will be intended to function within the local context, with neighbouring residents and associations playing both a pivotal role in the running of the embassy and using the building for functions that will emerge as the programme develops and functional needs are identified. Crucially, it begins to address how an institution operating at the scale of transnational cooperation can engage and relate at the local level with the existing community that hosts it. The site for the embassy is Ground Euro, located at the centre of the institutions, at the crossing point of several routes, movements and metaphoric lines of force, and on the border of the residential districts of Ixelles and Etterbeek. The site is symbolic by its physical and political positioning, within visual range of, as well as easily accessible on foot, to all of the most potent spaces of protest and representation.